The yeas are 218, the nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
And we're sort of celebrating like the biggest bill of its kind ever signed. And it's going to make this country into a rocket ship. It's going to be really great.
How many more of us have to suffer? Make sure your voices are being heard. We're not just going to sit back and watch it happen.
This bill represents the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. It will devastate vulnerable populations all across America. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, we stand in strong opposition to Donald Trump's one big ugly bill.
I think a lot of the estimations about what this legislation would do in a negative manner to communities in my state or any other are far overblown. I can tell you that this bill is going to be a great thing. Wages will rise. I think household income will go up. I think the job participation rate will increase dramatically. I think unemployment will be low. We're going to duplicate what we did in the first Trump administration. Remember, at the first 2 years, y'all have heard me say 1,000 times, it's objectively true. We had one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and we're going to do that again, except this time much more comprehensively.
We'll see what happens with inflation. We'll see what happens with home ownership, job starts, if cutting $1 trillion out of Medicaid is what we call progress. I'd like to see what failure is.
America understands that things like if you're able to work, you ought to work, and we need to clear up some of the fraudulent behavior so that it provides for those single moms with 2 kids that are maybe just getting by, and it doesn't collapse the system.
You think about MAGA, you think about the majority that they have. They represent a lot of lower income people. They're going to be destitute, and they're not going to be able to have their Medicaid. They're also not going to be able to have some of the benefits that the Affordable Care Act was able to bring to their families that wear these MAGA hats. They ought to take those damn MAGA hats and throw them in the dumpster, because they are going to be in a much tougher situation than they're in right now.
The story of this one big beautiful bill is really a story about the Republican Party. And I think some Republicans voted for this bill despite their own personal preferences. So some people may have been sort of individual losers, if you will, perhaps people who are concerned about the size of the national debt but voted for this bill anyway, largely because of their loyalty to Donald Trump. There's also some Republicans who are more moderate, who are concerned about cutting Medicaid benefits, and they still cast a vote for this bill. So I think there might be some specific Republican politicians who might come to regret this vote. But I think this is ultimately a victory for Donald Trump. Democrats, of course, will paint this as a loss for Americans as a whole. They will point to the price tag of this bill, estimated to be around $3.5 trillion of new debt on top of the large debt that we already have as a country. They'll also paint this as a loss for poorer Americans, for working class Americans who rely on things like SNAP or Medicaid. So I think that's likely to be a large part of Democrats' messaging as they seek to win back the House and perhaps the Senate in the 2026 midterms.